Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of Wealth Building Wednesday for the year 2022. And what a year it's going to be. And this is so indicative of how big it's going to be, y'all. We have a very special guest this morning in the house. As you know, Wealth Building Wednesday is a program brought to you by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation as a part of its TRHT Selma initiative. TRHT Selma is one of dozens of sites across the country. So it's 14 sites, and we are one of 14 sites in the United States who represent the process of truth, racial healing, and transformation. And most folks know that the biggest transformation that has to occur in our community at this point, not just in the city of Selma, but across this country, is we want to make sure that this wealth gap closes. And a part of that is for us to equip people with information and resources related to building wealth. So here you have it, Wealth Building Wednesday. We are delighted to be here. My name is Lydia Chapman. I serve as the co-director of TRHT Selma, and it is so exciting today to have our guest, Selma's mayor, James Perkins Jr. He is in the building, so to speak. I put that in quotation marks because everything's virtual. COVID is real. Look. But we want to welcome Mayor Perkins to TRHT Wealth Building Wednesday.
Well, Lydia, thank you for the invitation. Excited to be here as always, and most certainly excited to be here with you.
So for folks so you can understand that Mayor Perkins and I, we go back a long way. Our families are connected. My mom used to work with his mom at Good Samaritan Hospital. And Mayor Perkins actually shared with me, which is why this moment is so appropriate, some things early on in life that continue to help me in business, right? So this interview is not about the city of Selma. So if that's what you tuned in for, that is not what we're talking about today. We are literally going to talk about Mayor Perkins before he was Mayor Perkins, and give people just a glimpse of who you were early in life. And this is a part, you are the launch of our entrepreneur series. We know that there's this thing as a result of COVID called the Great Resignation. And lots of folks are looking into entrepreneurship as their next big thing, their next step in life. So we want to equip people with information, right? And so you are a part of that. You're the very first person that we're interviewing, and it is truly a delight to have you here. So I want in this moment to give you space to kind of share with us how you started out, because I don't think that people recognize. I know folks know that you have a math degree and stuff, but where did you get your start as far as your career, and what role did entrepreneurship play in that?
Well, you're right. I got my education foundation in mathematics and computer science from Alabama A&M University. I got to give a shout out to my alma mater,
Yes.
Great HBCU, Huntsville. But from there, the job placement office, we had great relationships with corporations across the nation, and the school had a great technology program because there were strong relationships between NASA or Redstone Arsenal, if you will, and the university. And so When I graduated, I had a degree in mathematics, but it was a concentration in computer science, and was initially hired by Caterpillar Tractor corporate office in Peoria as a computer programmer. And then from there, I went to Martin Marietta, now Lockheed Martin, Lockheed Corporation, and worked for them up through the ranks of computer programmer, systems analyst, project manager. And then from there, decided to start my own business, DVI, and ran that business for a series of about 18 years before getting out of that business and getting into public service. That's the nickel version. I don't know if I need to go further. I didn't even ask, how much time do we have? How much?
We try to limit our conversations.
Okay. So I'll stop right there then.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we try to limit the conversations to about 30 minutes per episode. Occasionally we go over, but the reason for the 30 minutes is because these shows not only air live on Facebook and YouTube, but we also rebroadcast the audio on WBFZ 105.3. And so we have a 30-minute time slot that we really try to stick to.
Gotcha. So I'll keep giving knuckle versions in. Let's go.
So I do, though, want folks to feel a little bit and know a little bit more about that entrepreneurial journey, because you described 18 years of being a small business owner. So when you think about your journey as an entrepreneur, why did you find entrepreneurship to be something that you thought was appropriate for you? Like, why did that make sense for you as a decision?
Well, at that time, there were not a lot of people of color in the IT industry doing software engineering and systems integration work. And I was fortunate enough to be with two great companies and got a really great foundation. And when I did have the opportunity and was looking at promotions and going up the corporate ladder versus owning my own business, I made the decision to get out and start my own business and to do what I was doing within the corporation and hang out a shingle and get it done. And so that's what I did. I did it because I wanted the independence, and I also wanted to create something that would really benefit the community from which I came. In fact, when I, believe it or not, when I first got my initial business license, I got my initial business license here in Selma. And that's a strange.
Now, see, I didn't know that.
That's a strange place in the IT industry to do what I was doing. And that was an interesting and strange place to try and start a computer company. But I purchased the business license. My uncle had, who was really a third generation florist, Smith Florist on Broad Street, entrepreneur in my family. My grandfather was a painter, contract painter. And so I worked under him. So I grew up under entrepreneurs. And so I got a business license, didn't have an office. I put my uncle Sanford Smith, he allowed me to put my business license on his wall. I got a little corner, got a telephone service and some business cards and say, hey, I'm in business. At the time, I was taking classes at Auburn in the MBA program and at Auburn Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And what I did, I'm gonna since this is about education, I'm gonna share a little secret with you. Each time I took one of the major discipline classes in the curriculum, I wrote a section of the business plan. I changed the name of the business to disguise what I was doing, but I was really, when I took the marketing class, I wrote a marketing plan. When I took finance, I wrote a finance plan, but it was all for the same business. So I was strategizing and planning all the way through. And by the time I got through all the major disciplines, I had a comprehensive business plan that had been signed off and vetted by college professors. And so I went out and got my business license and started the business. And the interesting thing is, doggone it, it worked a lot faster than I really thought it would. And that's one of the regrets I have, because I ended up having to make a decision whether I would continue in that program, and I only had 3 classes to complete, or to because the business took off so fast. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to be really surprised. But it took off so fast, I had to make that decision. So I decided I'll go ahead and just run the business, and I'll go back and take the other classes. And I never did. I never looked back, just kept moving. But I know there are a lot of very successful technology business owners who don't even have a college degree, yet alone a master's. So I don't feel too badly about that. But my first contract, Lydia, was with Kellogg Foundation.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually with Kellogg Foundation, and they had issued a grant through Southern University and Alabama State University to do systems integration plans for UNCF colleges across the nation. And I was selected as a consultant to go around to UNCF colleges across the nation to do computer operations and systems integration plans at the collegiate level. And so that was my first contract. And so I ended up traveling all over in Virginia, Mississippi, just everywhere, colleges all over the state, everywhere, doing those plans. And the interesting thing is, when I saw your entree and I saw Kellogg Foundation, I said, oh, look at it. There it is again here.
Come on, full circle. Look.
That's it. But I thought I'd share that with you.
Absolutely. And that's really great to know. Because I know for some folks, Kellogg may be a brand new, introduction. And even in this city, they've done work before. As a matter of fact, the WK Kellogg Foundation contributed funds that helped to start the Selma Dallas County Leadership Classroom. So we are excited to continue the work of the Kellogg Foundation in the city of Selma. And listen, and Kellogg was here before we got here, right? Way before.
Yeah. I mean,
and our mayor actually played a role in helping Kellogg and they really do have a tremendous footprint in the Black Belt.
They really do have a tremendous footprint within the African American community. Livingstone College, Virginia Union, Oakwood, Talladega, and Coahoma, and just the list goes on and on. And you know what? Something else, Lydia. I know we're not talking about municipal government and all of that, but the thing that's really interesting is how that experience fed into my preparation to serve as mayor, because colleges and universities use fund accounting systems, as does municipalities. And so I was introduced to fund accounting strategies and developing fund accounting systems long before I pursued the office of mayor. So
wow. Preparation.
Yeah, you never know sometimes where these experiences will lead you.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering, what would you say was your greatest challenge in establishing your business? I know you just said that your business took off really quickly, but what would you say was your greatest challenge as a young entrepreneur?
It wasn't necessarily the business; it was the balance. It was balancing life, balancing faith, family, and business. Because when you start a business, it's work. I often tell people that when you're starting a business, you don't own that business owns you. Mm-hmm. It's like having a child. It's like having a newborn baby. It cries in the middle of the night. You got to get up in the middle of the night to kind of take care of things, and you gotta feed it by schedule, and quite frankly, it's going to take a lot more from you than it can give to you. And balancing of what the business was taking from me personally with family and my faith, and that was tough. I think the toughest part of this was maintaining that level of balance.
And I'm so glad that you bring that up as a challenge, because so many of us, in even contemplating becoming entrepreneurs, you hear the great side, right? Folks talk about, oh well, I started making more money than I was making when I was working a 9 to 5, but people don't tell you how long it took until they got to that point. People talk about the great, the great side of attending events and pitching contracts and getting proposals and getting the contract, but they don't talk about just what you said, the balance that is so very necessary and can really oftentimes take years. And some of us still don't know, still haven't mastered it after years of how to balance faith, family, and business.
Well, yeah, and you can spend so much time in either one of those areas and lose the other two.
Mm.
And I mean, you go into business with the intentions of doing good for your family and supporting your faith and living by faith, but you get in there and you spend so much time in it, you get lost, and you can literally lose your family. And so, you know, my advice to any entrepreneur, anybody that's getting started, is seek that balance.
Absolutely. So now, in seeking balance and in experiencing and moving through growing from challenges, what would you say was your biggest triumph as a young entrepreneur?
Um, you know, I was when I got into the business. Um, like I said, there were not many computer programmers and software engineering folks,
Mhm.
and I really wanted to. I don't know if you're familiar with the 8A certification process with the SBA,
Mhm.
the Small Business Administration. At that time, there companies. I did accomplish and achieve the 8A certification and received various certifications uh, in the business. In terms of accomplishments, was received the Small Business of the Year award from the Birmingham Area Chamber of Commerce. Uh, those kinds of awards and accomplishments, being awarded Entrepreneur of the Year by your customers. And at that time, one of my major customers was Bell South, and was able to also pull in the contract with Southern Company, Alabama Power. In fact, when, just to date myself back before we got into Windows, that was this thing called DOS, and then
Mhm.
the conversion from DOS to Microsoft, uh, the training to handle that conversion for Alabama Power, my company did probably 90% of that training.
Yeah. Okay. That's Bentley. Look, look, if you heard the sound in the background, y'all, that's the mayor's dog. He's so cute. Um,
He just earned his meal for today. He has to let me know
oh,
when the postman's coming. That's what. So,
okay.
he'll get
No
fed
alarm
today.
like it. There is no alarm like a really good dog.
That's
So
right.
now, when we think about, we talked about your challenges, we've talked about the triumphs. Like, what are some big rocks? And when I say big rocks, like some really memorable things, that maybe three memorable things that you really wish you had done differently as a young entrepreneur.
One of the things that I shied away from was entering partnerships and mergers. I made a conscious decision to avoid that because I recognize that those at that time, my experience was these are the kinds of relationships. It's like a marriage. It's easy to get in, they're hard to get out of, and the relationships have to be, I mean, you have to be spot on. You have to be really clear about who's going to do what, who's on first, who's on second, and that kind of thing. And so I made a decision not to do that. I think mergers and acquisitions, if I had gotten more engaged in that process, I probably would still be in business and there were opportunities to do that. I was doing software engineering and training. There was another company that was doing telecommunications, wiring, and that kind of thing. We considered a merger. I said no. And so those opportunities were there. There was a company that really was doing a lot of work in Washington, D.C. that I considered a merger with. I said no. And I probably, looking back on it, I would have probably taken a different approach, especially now that I understand, hindsight, looking at where the industry has come from and where we are now. That's how most of the companies have actually grown in this business. So that's something that I probably would have done differently. Something else, I probably would have moved to Huntsville because of that's where the technology, that's where it was. That's where things were happening. That was Alabama's Silicon Valley, and it would have been a lot easier to do what I was doing because my goal was to focus on the corporate sector and not the government sector. And I think I probably could have done more in terms of balancing that. So that's another piece of the puzzle, making sure, your location really does matter even when you're doing professional service. Location really does matter. So those are the two that really come to mind. And every now and then I'll sit back and I'll think about, well, maybe I should have finished that MBA. But I just
3 classes. But I get it, right? Because so many of the people that we see on the covers of magazines and we read articles about, we see them on the news, so many of them don't have a bachelor's, much less a master's degree. It's more so the experiences and the passion, right? You have to have a level of determination and a willingness to forgive yourself for mistakes, right? And to keep pushing.
That's right.
I want us to kind of pan out, right, from your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
And talk about the impact of, because you just alluded to Huntsville being like the Silicon Valley of Alabama. What is the impact that city governments or government in general has on small businesses and small business ownership? Are there things that could be or can be different, even in our community, say the city of Selma, that can help nurture small business development?
Yes.
I know that's a huge question.
Well, yeah, it is. It's one that requires some thought, but because of my background, because I've been there and I've done some of these things, I think it's not as challenging as one would think. Training is really important. I mentioned SBA, Small Business Administration.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of free training and a lot of development modules there. I don't know if you're familiar with or heard of SCORE.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Is it the Service Corps, Retired Executives, or something like that? Mentorships and workshops. I think that, and one of my goals is to provide this level of support locally. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have a SCORE branch here or an SBA office here, but I think to make the connection, to begin to have those kinds of workshops and training, because a lot of our business owners in our community are great craftsmen. They have great skills, but they're not in tune with doing the things necessary to really run a business, to hire people, to have the proper business license, the insurance and bonding that's needed to do government contracting, those kinds of things. And so, and so as a consequence, miss many of the opportunities. We really we put together a packet for in municipal government and city as an example, how to do business with the city. So if you want to do business with the city, go by the clerk's office, pick that package up. But the city of Selma, we do probably a little over $5 million in annual contracting. The county does more, the city, school systems doing that, federal, state. There's a lot of money and a lot of opportunities for small business. But if you don't have the bonding, the license and the insurance and those things, if you're a contractor and your business is your sun visor, that's not going to get you into municipal government contracting. You really have to have all of those things because those are legal requirements that we have to meet. You will hear me often say to people that the right thing to do would be to do business with you, but it may not be the legal thing to do if you're not set up legally. So I just, I would encourage people to just do those kinds of things to help us out with that. But those are the things that we want to move towards and do some more training.
And I'm so appreciative of you talking about SCORE. We don't have an office here, but there are other resources. I did go ahead and put in the chat score.org. These are folks that even if they can't align you with a mentor, they send you information, they send you resources, right? Articles that you can read, some pointers and free workshops that you can attend, so that we can, like you said, bolster our training. We want to make sure that when we're building our businesses, that we build on a firm foundation. And now for folks who may be listening or may be watching and who already have an established business, like we know that you're here, right? We order from you, we support you on a regular basis, but you know that there are some things that are lacking, like your name registration with the Secretary of State, right? Are you operating as an LLC? Those are things that are a part of your basic foundation. And if you haven't done those things, there are people who are willing to help. SCORE is just one of them. The Small Business Administration also has an office in Tuscaloosa that services our community, that can assist with those things. There are local folks, like I've helped people walk through the LLC process, right? I've also talked to folks about grants. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to end up doing a grant workshop because everybody thinks that, oh, that's easy money. It's like, no, but now you have to do what you said you were going to do, right? And that's what we want small businesses to do, is do exactly what they said they're going to do. Whatever your mission is, let's make sure that we're operating in integrity, and training can help us do that. Mayor Perkins, I know that our time is almost up, but I do want to ask you about advice, right? We know that advice can come from all sorts of places, right? Some of it is good advice. Some of it is like absolutely horrible advice. And if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know. So something could be trash advice, right? Something that we should have put in the circular file, if you will, which is a garbage can, the circular file. So sometimes those things, there are some pieces of information, some advice that could really belong in the circular file that's offered. But I want to ask you, as we close, what was the greatest piece of advice that you've ever received, related to your journey as an entrepreneur?
The greatest piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can think of several. The early bird really does get the worm. If you get up early and do the work. Another would be persistence really does outweigh resistance. You really need to get out and not just start. It's not how you start, but it's really how you finish that makes a difference.
Amen.
And then I think I think the most valuable, though, Lydia, would be to put a price on your knowledge and sell it. In this age, just put a price on your knowledge and sell it. The key to success in the information age is to know more about something than anybody else. Because once you do that, then you have market value and you can sell that. You can literally be a head on a desk and be the most valuable resource in your community. And so that's just I think that's my answer. I'll stick with it.
Well, we appreciate all of your answers, and for you
Yeah,
taking time out to be with us for just 30 minutes
yeah.
on Wealth Building Wednesday. We definitely we thank you for all of the tidbits of information. The impact that you will make on our community is tremendous. So thank you, and thank Bentley. Look, he's such a
I did mute, but anyway, listen, thank you so very much for the invitation. I apologize for the interruption,
he's
but I say to you for your vision for this work that you're doing with Wealth Building Wednesday. I say for all of the challenges that you had to go through and all the success that you've experienced, to God be the glory. Take care.
Thank you so much. Want to invite everyone every single Wednesday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, to tune in to YouTube, Facebook. Just simply search Selma Center for Nonviolence or Black Belt Community Foundation, and you'll find the very next episode of Wealth Building Wednesday. We'll be right here next Wednesday. You can also catch our audio rebroadcast on our partner station, WBFZ 105.3. Thank you so much.